Hi guys, welcome to the new episode of the Bravo Lima podcast. As you heard, as you may have seen, this episode is about the golden generation of the England team. We are going to be diving into perhaps things a little bit more in depth as we move forward across the episodes. But this one is an overall look at that golden generation and why it didn't work. So getting into it very quickly, straight away, that England team, the starting 11 at least, had some of, if not the best players, certainly at that time. We had Gary Neville, probably the best, inside the top three best right backs on the planet at the time. Ferdinand and Terry, maybe you can mix up maybe Ferdinand and Campbell if you want to, but personally I'm going to go Ferdinand and Terry, as you can see on another picture that I posted a couple of days ago. Ferdinand and Terry, two of the best centre-backs in world football. I have put them in my World 11 before. I think I'm correct in that. Left back, Ashley Cole, goes without saying. Best left back in Premier League history. Maybe up there with Patrice Evra, maybe. But short of that, there's nobody that tops him. Certainly not in any other league either, I don't believe. Now, it's tricky because back then it was a 4-4-2. So that is what we're going to do. 4-4-2 formation. Right hand side of the midfield, obviously you're going to have David Beckham. No one crosses the ball like him, and if I recall, last time we saw him on a pitch, with the ball, he's still the same. In that middle, now this is where the debate comes. So I'm going to move over to the left hand side in a minute, and I'm going to do the two strikers after. We'll come back to the middle in a minute. On the left hand side of midfield, I pumped for Joe Cole. I always have. Always been a massive fan of Joe Cole. Gutted that it didn't work out for him coming to Liverpool. Perhaps he was too old. It didn't work out for him. It was the wrong sort of time. But especially when he was fit, he was the only person that would go on that left-hand side. I know that earlier in the golden generation, there was the option of putting Scholes there. It didn't work, but whatever. Then further forwards, you've got, for me, straight shout, Owen and Rooney. Now, in the comments of the starting 11 that I put up, me and somebody else, I've been quite a decent debate, to be quite honest. Shouting stats at each other. He would have gone for Owen and Crouch. Fair enough. Welcome to put Crouchy in there. That's your team. But looking at it, for me, Owen and Rooney together did it on the bigger stages. Euro 2004 I went for. I mentioned it was a prime Rooney and Owen. Prime golden generation. How we did not win that tournament is insane. It's ridiculous. Now, move back then. Let's move back to the real debate. The debate that I, to be quite honest with you, was the step for me to do this. The reason I wanted to do it. In the middle, on paper, you play Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard every single day. Gerrard and Lampard in that midfield. But they couldn't play together. They could not play together. It didn't happen. They couldn't do it. They're both very attack-minded players. Obviously, as they got a bit older, Gerrard played it from a bit more behind, so he played a more holding midfield role. Lampard didn't, but then again, Chelsea certainly played with a holding midfielder that was capable, so Lampard was able to stay attacking. Now, you couldn't play them both at all. Managers tried, of course they did. Which one did you drop? Your Chelsea fans would say drop Gerrard, your Liverpool fans would say drop Lampard. Your stats, you're even. There's a few either way, but again, who would you drop? Personally, I'm going to have to. The only thing that decides it between the two for me, I'd go for Gerrard out the two. I think it's more because in that team, if Beckham's not fit, Gerrard's my captain. I think that's it for that. Now, who do you then partner him with? Because for the younger people who want to pick this up, you'll never have heard of Owen Hargreaves, I can imagine. Owen Hargreaves was a born and bred holding midfielder. It was a defence. It was a CDM when CDMs weren't popular. The people that you had in central defensive midfield, you had the likes of Claude Makelele, who was quality, and then you had Owen Hargreaves, and then you had Nicky Butt. The drastic, of how good they were in each position. But Owen Hargreaves, he was really good. He were at Bayern and then he went to United. And obviously injuries ruined his career and he ended up playing one game for Man City. But he was a very, very, very good player. Very good. For me, it's a toss-up between Owen Hargreaves and Michael Carrick. I do like Carrick, but I'm going to have to go with Hargreaves because I think he's more in tune being golden generation. Carrick's perhaps a little bit further out in between the golden generation, perhaps in between the golden generation and the drop off. But no, certainly prime golden generation, you're looking at Gerrard and Owen Hargreaves. I think that would have worked. The issue that England had, it didn't matter to me when you paid Gerrard and Lampard. I put in the comments what was the issue, what was the problem. Problem for me. Sorry, I didn't even take my goalkeeper. My goalkeeper, I've gone for Paul Robinson. It's iffy. People disagree. People have disagreed. But for me, it's all about Paul Robinson. I don't know. Even as a kid, I just trusted him. I trusted that he had the ability to keep us in the game, make some important saves. I mean, David James, it's one of them. He's in shout. Those mentioning David Seaman, I'm maybe looking just after Seaman's time, maybe, but certainly my pick Paul Robinson. Anyway, the issue for me wasn't necessarily Gerrard Lampard, what he was, but if I were to look at the exact reasoning, is England's other options were a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Wayne Rooney got injured Euro 2004. Got replaced by Darius Vassell. Now, Darius Vassell was actually a good striker in his day. Actually, a very good striker, not international level, nowhere close. Players like Matthew Upson got games at centre-back. Wes Brown, I didn't mind Wes Brown, but was he England quality? No. Stuart Downing, Sean Wright-Phillips. A lot of these players came into play because others were injured. Now, you've also got the debate of the club argument. The club arguments. You need to bear this in mind that Michael Owen and Wayne Rooney, yes, Owen wasn't playing for Liverpool at the time that Rooney was playing for Man United. He wasn't. But Owen was born and bred Liverpool. So you had a born and bred Scouser and Wayne Rooney up top. Well, most Scousers, but Wayne Rooney was an Evertonian. Owen was a Scouse. Did they get on? Probably not. They were out for themselves. It was all about the club rivalry, all about it. They could never get their stuff together, never. Gerrard and Lampard, Liverpool and Chelsea, Gary Neville at right back, Do you know what I mean? Man United all over through and through. He had a good connection with Bex because they were both United at one point, both of them. Ashley Cole, Joe Cole, they had a bit of, they had a bit of something about themselves as well. Ferdinand and Terry, wow, their relationship dropped to bits, and we expected them to carry on playing together. They weren't, for me, professional enough to do it. They weren't. But at the same time, no manager was able, at that time, I would say you've got, again, you could start looking before and after Sven, but if you look after Sven, then... So, for those who don't know, Sven-Göran Eriksson, may rest in peace, was our manager at the time, Euro 2004, World Cup 2002, that sort of era, he was in it, he was there for it. After that, after he went, we got Steve McLaren. But then we got the likes of Theo Walcott playing, and we got tricky. I think the only manager we really did have at the prime, bear in mind this is prime golden generation, was Sven-Göran Eriksson. That era is when England should have won the Euros, should have won the World Cup. It was England's time with that team, definitely, 100%. You go through very quickly, and this is already the longest episode, you go through very quickly the individual or club honours for them players. Wayne Rooney, multiple Premier Leagues. Weren't then, but he would go on to multiple Premier Leagues. Michael Owen, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Newcastle, top tier clubs. David Beckham, I don't need to say anything more than that. Gerrard, Lampard, Joe Cole. Granted, he was a bit more of a quieter player, but it was quality for quality teams. Gary Neville, mainstay at Manchester United's right back position. Ferdinand and Terry, again, best two centre backs for me. Perhaps, certainly that I've ever seen play together, ever. Left back, Ashley Cole. personally, I'm penciling him in as best left back in world football in the past, century, maybe. I mean, argue that one if you want. Maybe even Roberto Carlos. But all these players have gone on and won something at club level, other than Paul Robinson, I may add. But even he made it. He made it to a semi-final with Leeds in the Champions League years ago. But we'll leave it there. Guys, let me know what you think. So you might not get this far. I appreciate everything you guys have done, pulled up for me, your comments. I don't mind we get into a debate. You want to debate? I'll debate with you all day long. I love it. So yeah, let's do that. Now, I've got ideas. You'll notice in the next episode, I'm still wearing this t-shirt. I'm not a scrubber. It is more to do with the fact that I am recording some of these back to back. Get some ideas, and I'll post an episode tomorrow. Guys, thank you for your support. Have it.